You, Mr. Bell?
Yes, sir.
Okay, the thing that caught my attention was you said you have missing persons. Are they confirmed missing, or is it possibly they're in a shelter, or is it in that
You
kind
know,
of...
that's always an issue we have to deal with. We have some that are not in shelters that we are searching for on the ground right now that are missing.
Can you give us a ballpark idea of how many people fall into the general category of unaccounted for?
Right now, at least 3.
And no fatalities at this point?
At this very moment, we're still looking for missing persons.
No confirmed.
It's hard for me to nail that
Yeah.
down because there's the information that we get. By the time it gets to us, it's been scrubbed 2 or 3 times. So if I'm like, hey, there's an X here, and they come to find out it's a bad information because we're getting stuff. You have to keep in mind, phones don't work well, internet's not working well. So until I see the guy's face or the gal's face that's giving me that report, and are you sure someone's gone or missing or a fatality, I need to verify that.
So no confirmed fatalities?
Correct.
Did you say 3?
I'm sorry?
3?
3 are missing that we are actively looking for.
Can you confirm 2 of those are children?
I cannot. I don't know.
But no bodies have been recovered anywhere?
As we were coming in here, there was some radio conversation, but I'm not clear on all the details of that yet. But while my partner's up here visiting, I might be able to confirm that for you.
What does that search entail? Are you guys just walking around? What's happening?
We have several groups. Texas Task Force 1 is on the ground with about 40 or 50 folks. They are literally walking in between rescues. They'll search a certain area, make sure that if there's a rescue performed, that there's nobody left behind or any parties left behind, and they're searching through debris piles and such, and that's pretty extensive. We're talking debris piles that are almost 20 feet in the air in the tree lines, so that's a pretty significant scenario for us.
You said, I think, hundreds of missing homes. Since most of us haven't seen the area, these homes that were washed off their foundations, destroyed, floated away?
Correct.
They're not there anymore?
Correct.
Oh.
And I let,
Most of them, I would assume, in Wimberley?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And Wimberley through Fisher. And if you give me a second, I'll let Kharley Smith with Hays County Emergency Management get a little bit more detail on the county piece, and I'll see if I can get clarity on your that other question you had, because I know we are having stuff as we were walking in.
Good afternoon. As Ken Bell stated before, we do have some missing persons that we're looking to try to locate. We're asking that if residents are seeking shelter with neighbors or friends, or maybe in a non-registered shelter, that they call into our main emergency operations center line and identify that they are okay, that they're staying with a friend, so that we can maintain a record of those individuals. So again, our main EOC operating line is 512-753-2180, and we're asking that anyone that is staying with a friend or a non-registered shelter call in and let us know that they're okay, if they may have friends or family that are searching for them. We are doing the initial damage assessments. As Mr. Bell stated, out in Wimberley is the most significant damage for the county. We do have whole streets that have maybe 1 or 2 houses left on them, and the rest are just slabs. It's difficult to get into the areas. We have down power lines and down trees that are blocking our path, but we are starting to do that damage assessment and realizing that it is pretty bad out there, and we want to make sure that our residents adhere to the curfew that we have in place for tonight and tomorrow, so that they don't find themselves in an area that is dangerous for them, because we haven't verified the infrastructure that surrounds them and the dangers that are present.
Do you have any general idea of how many people are displaced or out of their homes, whether they're in shelters or just not where they used to live?
We know we have a little over 1,000 in shelters. We've also identified what we believe is about 200 to 250 that are residing either with neighbors or family or left the area.
Of the 3 that are missing, 3 people missing, are they all Wimberley residents?
Yes.
Is the county or city requesting any kind of emergency declaration?
We did issue a disaster declaration this morning on behalf of all of Hays County, including the cities of Wimberley and San Marcos.
And from a federal or state level?
It's appealing to the state for state resources at this time.
Not the federal?
No, the state would have to appeal to the federal.
Do you know how many people are still trapped in certain areas that you know of that still need to be rescued?
We don't have confirmation that anyone is in an area that is trapped. We do have some subdivisions that are more difficult to get out of. They would require assistance, but their homes are intact, and so they prefer to stay in their home at this time.
A few hours ago, the PIO said as far as she knew, that there were still people being picked off roofs. Is that phase over with now?
That phase is over. As Ken stated, we're no longer able to support air operations because of the weather, but we have no existing reports of anyone that's trapped on a rooftop or needing air support.
Do you still think 400 homes that are gone, is that still a reasonable estimate?
We're still going with between 350 and 400, yes, sir.
Can you talk about the roads and bridges that are affected by this? Are there some that will open sooner than later, or are there some that have real structural damage?
There are some that have real structural damage. We have two main bridges that have completely washed away. We have some low water crossings that we question their infrastructure and have closed them until we can get engineers out to evaluate, which is again why we have that curfew in place. When residents don't see water rushing over a low water crossing, they think that it's safe to drive around the barricades, which is not a smart idea no matter what time of day it is, but especially not at night when you question the infrastructure of the roadway.
Why curfew in San Marcos this evening?
Curfew is for the entire county that was affected by the incident.
So San Marcos proper,
Mhm.
Which were the two bridges you mentioned that were major bridges that were washed out?
Fisher Store Road was one, and
Fisher what?
Fisher Store Road Bridge and Jacobs Well Road Bridge, both out of Wimberley.
would you spell that, Fisher, because
Yes.
it's not,
Fischer.
thank you.
And are both of those bridges over the Blanco?
Yes, sir.
Do you know how many roads are blocked off currently, or?
I don't have an accurate, I don't have an accurate count. We are maintaining them on the ATX flood site through our Hazen Form site. It is the most accurate. We aren't in the process of reopening roadways right now just because our road crews are still so taxed with trying to remove debris and look at the infrastructure of the roadway that list would remain current.
Do you have also an impression, not numbers, about the number of people who are without power? Is there significant power outage, or is it neighborhood to neighborhood type?
It's neighborhood to neighborhood at this time. It's not a sweeping power outage, but we have several transformers that are down, power lines that are down. So we do have blocks or neighborhoods that are without power.
Just to follow up on what we were talking about with Ken before, I just want to make sure I get it right. Is it accurate to say that there are missing people that Kenny is pursuing, but the authorities have not discovered any bodies?
That's correct.
So nobody's been.
That's correct.
If you would roll this back, this all seems to have come very, very, very suddenly. I mean, the National Weather Service didn't even know about this morning when I was talking to them, which didn't help me any with my bosses, by the way. But when you roll it back, well, when did when was it clear you had a real crisis coming at you?
About 6:30 yesterday evening.
6:30, because then
Yes,
at that
yes.
point you realized that.
Yes, sir. I
Significant-
received a call from Blanco County that the river was rising at a rate that they'd never seen before and at a level that they had never seen before. By 7:30 p.m. we had informed all of the residents from one county line to the other throughout Hays County that reside along the Blanco that we were concerned about the rise.
Did you advise them? Patrol cars?
By reverse 911 system.
Oh, so you started contacting all the people that were in the most threatened zone and.
Correct. We lined the river throughout the county for other areas, for some of the areas that had rental property where we weren't confident that they would have a landline phone that we could access. We actually sent law enforcement officers down to inform them of the situation, knowing that they wouldn't be aware of the threat that the river rising would pose.
And at some point you sent patrol cars around with loudspeakers and sirens, get out, get out?
We sent them door to door. I don't know of any activity that was a PA all call to
They've
get
got
out.
us inside the city limits, so maybe that wouldn't be something you would know. No.
Possibly.
Okay.
Anything else?
That's it.
Okay, so I do want to follow up on your request. I do have a visual confirmation, but we do have one fatality we can report. We don't have any other information, no identifiable information I can release at this point.
No age,
No, none.
No
Can't-
male,
can't
female?
confirm. Male. Male subject.
Does that mean there's still 3 people missing, or has that changed?
You know, when we were talking about this, the missing thing, I'll give you an example of one thing that has happened where we have been recovering people or finding people. We had an 8-year-old in one shelter, mom and another child were in another shelter. It took us forever to figure out who those people were and make that connection. So, I mean, it can be, I think we have most of that cleared up, but we're down to just missing people, and people, we're looking for those reports of people who are missing, and those fluctuate.
Was this one of the 3 that you were pursuing, though?
We don't know. So
Any
this is very
Was
very
this
new.
Fatality at Wimberley or San Marcos?
It's here in San Marcos.
Where
So
is,
you're saying one person confirmed dead of the 3 that were missing, that was here in San Marcos?
That is correct.
Meaning you believe they went in the water here in San Marcos, not were found here in San Marcos?
They were located in San Marcos. I don't know any details. I was walking in the room. In fact, I had to walk out to figure out the details for you.
Thank you for that.
You bet. On the power, was it the loudspeakers and such? Yes, we did do the neighborhood thing. We have projections of how water is going to react. We have 2 rivers. Our scenario is a little different than the rest of the county. With the San Marcos River, we have a confluence that backs up. So we have projections. It's like when certain things happen, certain rain events and certain methods, the way they come down, we can kind of spot that this was unusual. This was like double, triple that we've ever seen in my experience of 25 years. It was bigger than I've ever seen.
The victim is a San Marcos resident or Wimberley?
We have no idea. It is a male.
Somebody said, I believe it was you, man, that the last biggest flood that this one was in 1920 roughly?
1929, yes, sir.
1929?
Yes, sir. In 1929, National Weather Service has on record that the water rose in Wimberley to 32 feet. And this we recorded at 43.2 feet.
43.2?
Yes, ma'am.
And flood stage is 13, right? I think
12 in some
12.
areas, yes, sir.
Okay.
And
Well, maybe it was the 100-year flood, huh?
the flow per rate this morning was,
223,000
that's-
cubic feet per second.
which is a little over 100 million gallons a minute.
Right, and it's double what it was in 29.
Correct.
So for the San Marcos area, how long would you say, once the
223,000.
floodwater started to rise, it
Yep.
took to get to their peak?
Feet per second.
To get to their peak,
No.
about an hour.
Per second.
Now that peak sustained, that's where things get a little different than the rest of the world.
Cubic feet flow.
Right.
Per
So
second.
the rest of because we have 2 rivers that are converging into one spot, that when they hit, there's no more space for it to go. So it literally backs up. The water goes the opposite direction.
Up to
We
San
actually-
Marcos?
Correct.
Yeah, and floods out there.
Right. It comes backwards. The river goes the
I
other
understand.
direction.
Yeah, because there's
So-
such a little flow in San Marcos.
It just all cannot do everything it needs to do with the confluence. So that tends to stabilize at a high rate and it'll peak on us for an extended amount of time like it did. And what you will see is the water will go down, wait about 3 hours, and guess what's going to happen? Everything else is going to come back up again. And that's going to confuse people because they think everything's fine, the water's receding. No, it's not. What's going to happen is all that escarpment and all that runoff will start trickling back down and refill those basins and bring that water back up and surprise people. That's why it's a big deal not to go
With
back.
that flooding and with how long that
This is
was, we're hearing that obviously again
223,000
tomorrow,
cubic
there's
feet
the
a second.
potential for severe weather and
Right.
a lot of
Like,
rain.
you had
What
that's how
types
much
of
was flowing
preparations
past
are
a certain
being
point
taken
in
for
the river, right?
tomorrow and keeping people safe?
Right, so the bottom line is this, if it rains to the west of us,
Cubic feet.
especially in our community, we are going to have a problem. If
Yeah,
it rains
no,
to the west of us,
yeah, I
on top of
understand.
us, we're going to have
60
exactly what you
times
saw today.
That
Okay.
32 feet in 1929, you said that was the river height?
Correct.
Just because we're so good with numbers, 223,000 cubic feet per second peak flow.
Correct. And that's before the gauge broke.
When did the gauge-
That's all we know. It broke
When-
after that. It literally
The gauge
snapped off.
broke?
It
Oh.
snapped and broke. We don't have any more data because the data collector snapped it and flew down with the road and everything else.
Where was this?
San Marcos, I believe. It was a brand new gauge, as a matter of fact, we just had it installed.
No.
Measured.
Can you tell us about the reassignment of personnel, for instance, from the Memorial Day?
Oh, I appreciate that. So our Memorial Day festivities are suspended, obviously, from tomorrow. All of our personnel are on AB shifting right now, and we're 24 operations, 12-hour shifts. Thanks, sir.
At this point, is most of the worry behind you, or do you have a specific worry?
It's just getting started, okay?
Yeah.
The amount of things we have to deal with on the recovery side is it's hard to articulate. It's hard to fathom for a lot of people. This community, and Hays County especially, is going to be recovering for years over this. I've been through a lot of floods in this community. This is going to be a lasting impact for a long time. There's millions of dollars worth of damage that I haven't seen before, mainly because of the amount of water. It's pretty catastrophic across the board.
And is the rainfall, we heard generally speaking about a foot of rain fell in about 10 or 11 hours over a certain portion of the watershed. Is that, do you have the same figures, different figures?
I wish I could tell you,
Yeah.
There was so much going on that I have people
You
that
weren't watching
would
it?
say, it's gonna be bad.
Okay.
We're bad, and badder, you know.
So you
it's where we're at.
got months and years of recovery ahead of you.
Yes, sir. We're just beginning. We're not even done with the rescue, so to speak, getting people evacuated or into a place where they consider normal or safe.
Would you be able to talk about how many shelters are up and running at this point? How many people might be in those shelters?
We've consolidated shelters. I think we're one in Wimberley, one in San Marcos. We were at 1,000 at our peak. We are down to about half of that right now. I suspect that'll go back up. What people are doing, the sun came out, the birds are singing, so everybody went to their respective homes, checked damages, realized there's no power, no water, no sewer, maybe coming back to visit us tonight for a night stay.
The worst area of San Marcos that got hit, where would that be that you've seen?
Yeah, follow the Blanco River, get down to the San Marcos and go backwards, back into town. So that's what I'm saying, it's a little shaky from the rest of the world. It literally kicks back on us and goes into places almost close to here. We have Purgatory Creek, which is just outside this building, that kind of surprises people, and they don't know why is the water coming this way. It'll show up on hills. It's pretty amazing. Mother Nature.
Can you describe the curfew again and the importance of that and why it's in place?
It's generally, we're looking at impacted areas. There is a curfew in place, and what we're, there's people driving through the community of San Marcos don't have to be in peril for driving down the interstate. It's not that kind of scenario. But if you're wandering around in a neighborhood that has been power suspended and
You better have a good reason.
you better be able to, you better have a patch on your sleeve and a flashing yellow or blue or red light on your vehicle to be there, because we're not going to put up with any people tampering or taking property of others.
There was rumors of that earlier today in the locations. Has that been confirmed at all?
You know, you hear this stuff all the time. That's why when I hear about entire groups and this and that happening, you have to take this stuff with a grain of salt until you get it verified with somebody you trust. Just verify everything, and y'all do a pretty good job of that. We appreciate that. Not reporting just random things. We try to give you the information the best we can, and we appreciate that on your part, because that hurts us more than anything. When people just make random things up and, hey, there's 500 people in this, that, and the other, it's just not sometimes accurate.
I think we have time for 2 more questions.
I don't think we're at Mark.
I think we're good. All right.
I have one quick announcement to make, a clarification. Earlier, a number was given for people to call if they had not checked in with an official shelter, if they were staying at a church or friends. That number that they should call is actually 512-393-7896. That's 393-7896. To sort of register yourself so that we can compile a list and make sure that everybody knows you're safe. This will also be the last official press conference today. If there's any breaking news or dramatic news, I think we have all of your emails, and we'll be updating by email if anything
Do
happens.
you have any idea what time tomorrow, or will you be having, I'm sure you will be having one or two tomorrow, hopefully?
We'll let you know in the morning. We'll see what happens overnight and what everybody's availability is, and we'll set a time.